Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terri-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean. Good afternoon. 5.8G Alive is on. Welcome to all of our listeners across the Gael, across the social media platform, everywhere. I am Terri-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus, which is bringing you 5.8G Alive. And with me as usual.
Hello, and good evening. I'm Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus. And welcome. Terri-Ann, it's Carnival time.
We started. I hope all of our listeners are active and getting involved in the Carnival. Jennifer, we made our first foray into the
Yes, we went to our first fete.
Full effect.
Yes. Actually, imagine that. We went to a cooler fete. That was really nice. Yeah.
Yes.
It showed that we still have it. We enjoy the Carnival.
No, it's important. It's you know what I like, Jennifer? Last week we introduced the topic, the area that we are getting into, whether we're curious or afraid. And I love that we're doing this at this time because the Caribbean is into Carnival mode. The Caribbean, yes, Trinidad Carnival is coming up, but the Caribbean gets drawn into it, and the diaspora also gets drawn into it. And I think this is a period where our cohort shrinks back. We generally shrink back and we get into spectator mode and we get into criticism mode and we get into day this and in my day mode and how it was. And we try all of the issues that reflect our not wanting to be curious and learn and find out and reach and being afraid come to the fore. And really, what it is your granny say? Nothing.
Terri-Ann like that saying, how stuffing out the joy out of life.
Out of the mouth of babes. So Jennifer, I think it is a good backdrop with Carnival and the Caribbean. And when we say Carnival, we're not just talking about mass and beads and bikini. That is not Carnival. That is a part of Carnival that some people choose. Carnival is music, it's creativity, it's spoken word, it's song, it's pan, it's design, it's the actors, it's the fashion, it's everything creative.
It's just a lot of joy. It's express Carnival is not Carnival. That's joy and happiness. I know not everybody, as you say, when they think Carnival, they think in one week.
Yeah.
But it's bigger than that.
Yeah. And if you want to play a sailor mask, go and register in a sailor band and play a sailor mask. And if you want to play with cloth, get a mask band and play with your cloth.
And listen, you're not too old. Like someone's, John, we're going to fete at this age? You still want to party? Listen to me. If you want to go and just stand up and enjoy the atmosphere, you do that. Do whatever you want to do. That gives me joy.
Yeah, and Jennifer very
it was
nice
early. We went early enough and we left early enough.
Hot in her jumpsuit with her whole back and she looked hot. She looked good. So
and we didn't take any pics.
Good. So we started having our fun. And well, we said we started this series and it's serious. And Jen, we have a special guest today. You want to tell them who that guest is?
Yes, we have Dr. Jennifer Rouse. Well, I know you all know gerontologists have been on our show many times, have been presented on our forums, etc. And Dr. Rouse is ideal to be our first guest to get things going. To introduce to us what's our greatest concern at this stage, the 5.8G cohort, you know, we have to address certain concerns. And Dr. Rouse, we started the year 2023 addressing these concerns. And as Terri-Ann mentioned, from this discussion, we're going to have topics to continue each week where we would be having discussion and have other guests coming in to, you know, to present and talk more about that particular topic.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you're listening to Dr. Rouse now.
Are you curious and what you're afraid about? So let's learn about it. So, like we said last week, 2023 has started, and you see we're serious because you see who on the screen with us now. Dr. Rouse, welcome.
Welcome to my sister.
Listen, we ended last year on a high note with our forum, Real Talk. And in that forum, you raised a point that really resonated with us. And as we said in our first show for the year, we are continuing to explore this whole issue of curious, not curious, and afraid, which we are discovering is really at the root of blocking a lot of us. So, Jennifer, we welcome in the guru of curious and afraid for our Caribbean context.
Of course, and I mean, this is our first guest for the year, so we chose right to take us into 2023.
Yes. So, Dr. Rouse, what is this curious and afraid business about?
Welcome. So first, I must say greetings to my viewers. All best for 2023 and beyond, because you all know globally, the whole world is in flux and we all in transition, as a result of which this theme that both Terri-Ann and Jennifer have posited is most relevant now. Now, I will jump off from what is a little piece of theory. There is a phrase or a term, not a phrase, a term that is called environmental press. Press there is short for pressure. Now it is all part of, you will find the term used in gerontology, social gerontology, which is my specialty. Now this is calibrated kind of scientifically, but I've given you the term first to say exactly what it is. Now, if we could say, what is like a social and physical impact or demand? Look at technology. Look at what technology is doing with our seniors. Some are still begging for the Me Too phone or to stay with the Nokia, because that flip to go to these with the screen and WhatsApp and slide your finger up and click it, that's real problems. That was one reference I gave. Another impact is, take for instance me. I am entering university for the first time at 44. Immediately, I have a title, returning student. I never went anywhere, but I'm returning. Non-traditional student, older student. You hear the terms, eh? Now, if we go now a little step further, in our Constitution, Clause 4, I don't know if it's clause or section 4, but I think it's Clause 4, where they deal with, this was in the human rights section, and the areas that we have to be guarded against in protecting the rights of people. We look at race, religion, ethnicity. Age not there. Age was never an issue, as it is now. When the discussion really becomes vibrant on constitution reform, we need to see that age is also inserted in that clause. So here we have where you have added years to your life, but now you want added life to your years. You got it? And in making that sea change, that is why I targeted the insurance companies. And as a matter of fact, they started calling me, all Guardian, all the insurances, because at the time, and that was about 2006-07, they admitted openly they never produced a product for this group. Never.
Mhm.
It wasn't thought of. It wasn't an option. And
It's
it
supposed to
wasn't
be dead.
something that, yeah.
It's
Once you,
supposed to be dead.
another place that I had to give many lectures to was the trade union.
Mhm.
Once you retire, 60, kaput.
Done.
You
Yeah.
have nothing more to lobby for in that group until the trade union leaders themselves become aged,
Yeah.
and it starts to
Mhm.
impact them, where they now not only now in the workforce, but they're now on the other side as a beneficiary. And then they begin to then wise up that, wait a
Mhm.
minute, we have no pension indexed to COLA, with nothing indexed again. This is a
Yes. No.
straight
Flat
income
line.
that is fixed, and you live it. So coming now, jumping off from that environmental press, we don't want to see where our seniors are because of the impact of all these shocks and different things that they are just being thrust on them. Pension now, yeah, everything is going paperless. When you are accustomed seeing a bank statement, they used to have the little passbook. Remember the passbook in the bank? Some used to go every week to make sure it updated and to see that the money there
With a
and nobody
signature
taking it. You
initial.
understand? That was their social visit, social outing. So we have no visual statement to manage our spending, see what is happening. Everything is now on the screen. Now you're also talking with the aging eyesight. These may seem subtle to a young person, but an older person, listen, this is serious business. So this social and physical demand, remember, we have a countervailing force that is overarching everything by the name of ageism.
Yes.
So here we have now, where instead of looking at this theoretically just through socio-demographic approaches and looking at the cohorts and this and that, I have shifted now to now be only using the life course perspective. The life course perspective. So even though we start with this theme of being curious and afraid, that ain't happen when you was 50 and over. Go right back to building blocks. But for those who are 70, 75 and over, you're in your anchor leg of the relay. When you know that, your whole spine will get straight, because you will start to look at the things that you really worrying over. Really?
Yeah.
It is all about well-being. It is all about wellness. We're not using terms like sanity and sanity. And we must mention mental health and wellness. So when you start saying, but why are these seniors not even curious? And why they're so afraid? Where this temerity and all of this coming from? Go back.
Yeah.
So using myself as a template, I was born into a community. I was born into a community. So when you're dealing with Maslow and his hierarchical needs of safety, security, wanting a feeling of belonging, wanting a feeling recognition, where you feel you're getting that from, honey? Not a book, you know. You could lie down and read night after night, day after. You ain't going to be getting any of those attributes that I tell you. And they're very subliminal. They're very subliminal. Now, that is only one part of the equation. So if you as number 9 ain't developed how to project, how to articulate with us with a father who was a headmaster or an educator all his life.
Jennifer, can I ask you, just interrupting and asking you a question, because it brings to mind something. You say this tool called a question.
Yeah.
And what a question is in our life. You know, the question is the tool humans use to discover and to learn.
Correct.
And so many of us questions are seen in young people as a sign of rudeness, forwardness, brashness.
Nuisance.
You're trying
Right.
to embarrass me. You're trying to do
Thank
this.
you.
You're trying to do that. People who are questioned take offense and begin to protect themselves. And people use questions to intimidate and to control. And
Yes.
I'm listening to you and understanding the link between the question is a tool for curiosity and for learning.
Correct.
And for many of us, as we get to this stage now, we really have to think, how were our questions handled? How did we use questions and how did we react to questions? And now we're stuck in the mud. We don't have a neck that's strong like the black swan to pull yourself out of the mud with the fattest worms.
And the fear comes by feeling like you're in quicksand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, again, Dr. Rouse, you brought out some really critical aspects in terms of what you call your life growth, you know. And so we're looking at by 50. And again, I came from a big family. Not as 9, but at least 7.
Right.
And I came down at the end. And when you share that story and the different personalities, experience, etc., really not until you reach the age of about 50. And situations occur in the office, in the workplace, at home, with your relationships, etc., that you start to think. But you said something too. Is how Terri-Ann just asked about the questions, the questions we ask. But I also want to take it to when we refer to being curious. And if we don't, before growing up, in my time, if you're curious, you're being fast, you're out of place, you have no right being there, no right to question. And if you have been, and I want to say label because you refer to labeling.
Sure.
And we as children, all of us had different labels. So you either label as being fast, label as being ugly, unfortunately, label as being too black, all the different labels. And some of the labels we even had names. So they won't call you by your correct name, but you have a nickname. So I understand now when we reach this, we have a lot to release. and when you're so curious, and I think it's a great, what should I say? A kind of what a jump off.
Yeah.
A jump off for us to start looking at how we interpret curious. And that is so critical now, because as you speak, and I'm thinking, okay, they have a lot of like, fortunately, in certain growing up, they might say, she's a younger one. We had a lot of girls. So you might say, oh yes, she's not so bad. She's not like the others.
Yeah.
What do you hear? Like if you're different, like you're better than.
Correct.
And then you enter school and you may not have been as intelligent as the one they were comparing you to. And they say, she's not bright at all.
You meet better
she's not learning as fast as. And they're saying that in front of you. And that's the other thing. When the elders speak in those days, so the teacher may be speaking to your mother or father, or the neighbor may be saying something, and they're talking over your head like if you can't understand and relate.
Like you
so the teacher will say, well, this
you.
one not too bright, I'm not sure if she would pass. Or don't give her to do little thing because she seem little thing. Or she, know, all the
and slow,
and
don't forget slow.
negative labeling you loud enough that it could register.
Correct.
And I see Dr. Rouse, I'm 50. If we don't start to unravel,
that's a question.
And release,
don't try
and
to
identify,
load shed.
But we first have to understand where it came from. You really had me thinking. you really had me thinking back and saying, you know what? That is where that came from.
Mhm.
That is I am a talker because I had to fend for myself. Because coming down at the end, and yes, they forget you, they're tired, parents tired. After having 6, 7, oh gosh, they're tired. So they forget the younger ones and they leave the mothering, the taking care of to the elder sister or brother.
Correct.
Right? So now, as you speak, I say, okay, so this is why I'm like this.
Right.
People say, Jan, you tend to be a little aggressive. And I say, no, assertive. And now I know it's because I had to fight for myself.
Correct.
So I agree.
And
It's
a presence.
curious,
So
being curious is so critical for us at this stage. And you have outlined why.
Yeah.
Why?
And you also think, and the thing is, we have three last end here. And I want to talk for some of the older ones, because sometimes you see people who just appear to be detached and don't care two hoots about what's going on there. Right. And they tend to be the older ones who felt burdened and just cut everybody off. So they became not interested. So then asking a question, then following up, and they're only concerned about themselves for their own survival. And we carry, and don't talk about the ones in the middle that.
Yeah. That's why I say middle child is a whole other dynamic. So you understand. So between us three, the term is existential questions. Yeah. That's what it redounds to. You are now at 50 and well, it begins more like 45. You begin questioning existential questions. Who am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How I marry this person? The person I had in mind in my teens was totally different. This person is the exact. How I reached there? I love, yes, I definitely love, but you question the love. Is it conditional? Is it unconditional? Do you know the difference?
Yeah.
When one is, then you question the relationship like last child. It is almost de facto. It is almost de facto that you will, and worse yet is an odd number, 9. You will remain home when the others have gone. It was understood. And as female, de facto caregiver. Yeah. Understood. So little you don't know all these plans are being made for you, on you, about you. So that when I started 70 becoming radical, that was my platform for asking questions. Yes. Yes. Whether it's the authors of the books who think so we have was global, coming down from the bigger countries and whatever. But at least you had persons asking questions. Now we are in an ethos where there's a conundrum, there is a bombardment of the psyche, of noise. Because remember our day, we had 2 radio stations. Yes. First it was A and B, Ready Fusion, A and B. You're either on one or the other. And then when we started to go up the chain, not many radio stations. Yeah. Now they have more radio stations than content matter. Got it? Sure. And then the bombardment from early morning as you wake, the noise does not allow you that largesse to think, to reflect. If even you scramble a prayer, not lying down, you might be doing it while mixing your coffee or your tea and say, God, you have to forgive my brother, but you know how the thing going. That's the relationship, how it begins to change. And listener, I look back now at my life and I say, my God, how this was ordained. How it was ordained. And if you look back at yours critically, you would see it's almost like we set a stage and say, that is why I'm going and play myself on.
I call it the road. I say we paved the road.
There's the road.
Pick it up. We create the box drain at the side and we
everything.
Put asphalt, and then we question it how I get there.
And then when some pros come in your path and say, where this one come from? What it is I do wrong?
Right over
You're
there.
asking. That is part of your stage. As Valentino say, life is a stage. We are the actors. But the hopeful part, the positive part is because of recognizing that now, that wait now, we are the architects of this, you know.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility in what we draw into us, what we averse to, why are we attracting a particular trend? And guess what? Then you say, well, then wait a minute. There's where the curiosities come in, and they kick in, especially when you begin in your 40s. And you're questioning things, the job you're in, how you come to be doing that, the thing you really love to do is you don't know when last you did it. That is where the little nuggins and things come joking you, as they say. And you start to question. But when you realize, well, if I am the architect of this play or stage that I am on, then I could change it.
But Dr. Rouse,
I could change it.
For many people, is that the question? Because we have so many of us in this generation have curiosity snuffed out. You don't ask questions. You take it from an authority figure, and it is true. Doesn't matter what's going on in your head. Is it correct to say now that most of us cannot make that statement, that I am the architect of my life, and therefore can now engage in a conversation or worse, a debate with someone who may not agree with how I want to take myself forward at this stage?
I hear you. And it's a brilliant question, because I will use Erikson's format, the stages. When you start with trust, mistrust. Let me tell you what Erikson said. He's a psychoanalyst. He says life offers you tasks. And in these stages, you don't just jump a stage. For you to transcend to the next stage, you have to master to a point. You don't have to be the expert, but feel comfortable on the inside that I get it.
Yeah.
I now get it. You follow? Because you will know. Well, what he's saying is life gives you these tasks, which we could also call building blocks. But to engage it, to mulch it, to work with it, you must have conflict, contradiction, challenge. And what do? Avoid. I tell you, the church tell you, turn the other cheek, 70 times 7. We as women, you must be seen and not heard. All this is the dumbing down, or the silence. Let us call it silence. So, picking up that point you now made, vital. The ethos, remember another conversation that says 5 generations living together now, 5 generations. And what demarcates each one to know, well, how you know is another generation is by the values, the mores, norms and mores, their attitude, behavior, and how they communicate. See those attributes? That demarcates how you distinguish there's another generation here jostling me. So here we are with an ethos, starting with my parents and our parents who are known as traditionalists. They came out of 2 world wars.
Mhm.
It came out of an ethos of scarcity and lack. So frugality was endemic.
Yeah.
You didn't have to think. So when they tell you every penny you get, save a cent, that didn't just happen because they're just telling you so. No, it's the ethos they came out of. That oil, when they then brought us, we get oil, black gold.
Oil money, rice
Oh
and
God,
tally.
hello. Because all our mothers had to do was show us how to cook, sew, the basics, eh? That gone through the window now. You could buy, and if it ripped through it, no more Saturdays, it's the damn.
And fix the button on him.
And fix no more of that. No the key word is repair. So your cycle, your own rhythm, gone awry already.
Yeah.
We are just showing you all the ingredients to our question. I ain't losing sight of that. So when you made that point, Terri-Ann, so here you have the traditionalists where women were, as we used to say, in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant every Monday. You remember the saying? As pejorative as it may sound, that was how crass it was.
It was. It
So,
is what it is.
And don't forget, the institutions reinforced it. And the public sector, if you had 4 children within 3 years, as they say, home time, you're not ready for work, you for home. Yes, Jen, no, this is how we knew it. And you're working till Saturday, remember? And then I was in the airline where you had flight attendants. You had to retire at 45 because your beauty has faded. It was mandatory that you wore makeup. Mandatory. I'm talking 3 layers. So all your pores closed. And many of them.
And then, Jenny, I think in those days too, as a flight attendant, you couldn't get pregnant. You had to leave if you got pregnant.
I tell you, I worked there. That's how I joined. That's how I joined the union. And Jen, they were not to wear spectacles. Are you crazy?
I remember,
Yes. It's the union change all of that. So the ageism, the classism, the sexism, it was a conundrum, I tell you, on our head. You follow?
Jennifer,
so, wait, I'm finishing your point.
Yes.
I'm finishing your point. So that ethos where they were silent, the women were the silent majority. You just had to defer, genuflect. Where some mothers got a little reprieve was in the church where they had like mothers union and these things and they will chat and whatever. And you coming forward to all these major tectonic shifts, not paradigm, tectonic shifts. When we appear, baby boomers, oh God, gravitas. Everything happens. We just meet things.
Yes.
And so curious about what? What were we asking? If you ask some now, some may know Eric Williams, they may not know anything more. Because they don't even want to know.
Yeah.
This is even whether they're in class or whatever, because now the impact of distractions. Every child now has a cell phone, even in school. You can't leave your cell phone at the door because in case your parents, in case of all manner of things, how we survive? How did we make it? Because the thing about aging, this is why I look at the field that I was thrust into. It is so amorphous. It is so all-encompassing because everybody in the world is. We all aging. So it's not that we age different in the Caribbean and we age different in the developed world. No, it's a leveler. So therefore, it's not even when they're asking you, why are you going into all of that? You know, you're born and you meet it, why you want to change it? And they are not recognizing that. I wonder if fear is behind it because they know how fear is exemplified, is that you're trembling, yes, you're frightened, you know, and you know you have a weak bladder. That is not fear. That is the overt part of the fear. I think it was Leo Boscaglia or one of them, or I can't remember, it was Peck who wrote The Road Less Traveled.
Peck.
He explained it in a very simple way. The two emotions that drive the world is love and fear. Two. You know the symptoms and the attributes of each one the moment you see it. Love, expansive, open, ability to risk. You are abundant. You see abundance. You revel in it. That's love. It is open. It is expansive. What is fear? Suffocation, stifle, stubborn, lock down, minimize. Instead of expand, minimize.
Deny.
So anytime you see the symptoms of it, you know they have the cold. You know one time.
Yeah.
So now the curiosity, either of the parent or the sibling, and you know what is the and the unsavory part, it's going to be generational. If you ain't stop, take off that shoe to take the proverbial pebble out of that shoe, you carrying that down.
Yeah.
You can't remember the popular one where the lady, when she had her function, I think it was a birthday party, she was baking the turkey. She cut off the two legs and she cut off the wings and put them in. They asked her why she do that. She said, well, her grandmother did it, her mother did it. The grandmother oven couldn't fit, the turkey couldn't go in the oven of the grandmother. She now has a big 6 or 8 burner, but she's still cutting off. Why? She never asked.
Yes.
And she never asked.
What I want to get to as we get into the time, because these things resonate, and we know that we are not our grandmothers or our mothers at 50, 60, 70. We are not. No. We are different people. We still have capacity, but yet curiosity and fear limit us. But a lot of people will say, no, that's not so. Right. I am curious and I'm not afraid. But I want you in our last session to talk about how that lack of curiosity and fear manifests to prevent us from living a full and happy life. And full life. So how does it manifest today?
And before Dr. Rouse answers, and I know we're winding up here, I want to add to that, just to follow that, because I truly believe some of our cohort, even in listening, may not even want to open their mind to start to think along those lines, not seeing it as fear, but saying, you know what, at this stage, let me just live my life. It ain't making any sense to even try to go down that path. They could say what they want, but it's too much for me to start to think of how I reached this stage, why I'm here, and what I really want for myself. Not seeing it as fear, or not seeing it as curious. So when you're winding up, just tie that
No, I'm taking it one time because I know where I leave off with Terri-Ann. What you said takes me back to the first point I opened with environmental press. Scientifically, what they realize is when you are old now, let's going up in your 70s, 80s, good? You need stimulus to keep that, to be continuing to grow. Don't forget, growth don't end at 60. And becoming this wholesome person that you want to be in well-being. Stimulus is there, yet you will see some elders disengage. They ain't interested in nothing. Leave me be. I this way for all the years I know myself, just what you said.
Good.
And I good.
I good.
You know what? How the fear manifests, not as showing, how the fear manifests on the internal self. What if I really start to dig? What if I really start to forage and go back and I can't at the end bring it back to how I've met it? What if, because somebody asked me this when I started to question, well, why do you do so and so? It was a very academic, intellectual person. And she was aggressive. And she said, listen to me. You see all those questions you asking me? You have to guarantee me that at the end of the day, that every prison, every shard, every splinter that you disrupt could be stuck right back. Because I ain't dealing with nothing with a fissure or fracture. This is me. And she never answered any. So fear that I can't come back to this template.
To this.
Got it? So it is an aversion to change. And also, don't ever forget laziness. Laziness at a cosmic level is called entropy or entropy. Because the cosmos moves at glacial pace, but it's moving. But when you shut down, which is an attribute of fear, you don't even want to know. And it's not that you don't know at all, but you cuff it down so far. Why
you're not going deep?
You're going deep.
And when the glacier passes you, you're angry. When you're left behind, you're angry and you want to drown everybody back with you.
No, I'm picking up that point you now made. Some are lending homeowners hell on earth. They bawl whole night. They give them sedative, tablet, they ain't sleep yet. They bawl. That people all up the road think you beating them, you know. This is in homes. You ain't doing them none. Unresolved. Unresolved. The jumbies, the pebbles in the shoe that they didn't want to cut. Honey, guess what? Your time now is you and you alone.
Coming out.
You're in a room by yourself now. All of a sudden, this thing come cascading down on you. On what the hell? Who would have thought that I would ever, and da-da-da-da. And then you might remember that man used to horn me. And I take that over the years. I meet a next one, horn me, back bellions, but you're not saying it. But the anger was never resolved because the era that you were in, you had to be polite. When you're just keeping it nice. So that anybody looking on would say, respectable, you know? She is so demure. But inside, volcanic. But it waiting.
And it can't function.
Precisely.
It can't function.
So, we link that with what you just said now. When that fear, genuine fear now, wait a minute, especially if that last child now meets somebody that they really love, and the parents start to see marriage in the tip. Well, here now, hypochondria kicking. Are sick with everything. As you start to dress to go on the date, oh God, girl, I didn't want to tell you all day now. When I tell you. And they genuinely get a pain, They genuinely get a pain. Just like how you can have a phantom, just to keep you, and this is you, honor thy mother and thy father. Guilt, you take off the dress you buy, you try it on whole time in the store and buy and manicure, pedicure, you name it, you take off everything and say, okay, mom, you now boiling. Because you really want to go. You really wanted to go. So even though you remain, what's the relationship? Did you speak? Did you all chat? Or all you, and there's another important point. You see here, when you lock in that tension here, and a masseur who knows what he or she doing, there's a point between here and here that they rub. Listen, you feel like
your dentist will see it in your grind down molars.
In the molars.
Yeah. They'll see it.
And they have very old who, like in the 90s, you could stay in the drawing room and hear them grinding the teeth. It is so involuntary now that they don't even know they're doing it.
Yeah.
But when they go to the dentist, if they go or ask to go, the dentist, as they see, all here ground. But masseurs who know what they're doing, there's a point here you will feel like the whole hinge just dropped. That was tension, you know, stress that you lock here for not wanting to talk about it. But it is going to haunt. It could come out in an explosive way. And before I end, I tying off the things that we just touch on, and because you know how long the discussion could take. So in the Erikson, when he going through the task and the conflict, to really understand and master trust is the first one of the 8. Trust versus mistrust.
Yeah.
There are people that went through life, never get a betrayal, never got a disappointment. So they say, oh God, they have the words. And how you bounce back is not just getting through it, how you bounce back. In other words, you had to pick up the boot, as Martin Luther. You had to have boots before you could pull up the bootstraps.
Yes.
So you had to have the boots. And you say here now, you see me? Sometimes it requires looking in the mirror and saying, look at you. You are half your size. Where you going? Watch your diet. Watch your stool. Because when you under real stress, your stool is like goat pellets and very dark. Because the toxicity inside making havoc with you. When you're supposed to be naturally having 4 bowel movements a day, 3 to 4, drinking water, hydrating, keeping the system flushed and clear, and mind on the positives.
Yeah.
Because some of these conflicts you have to walk away from. You have to be able to measure the level of toxicity or aggression coming at you. So Erikson went through these 8. And what in a snapshot I recognize, because this is what I used to lecture on. The first 4, they deal with you. How you coming through, trust, mistrust, autonomy versus doubt. And that will lead you now to initiative versus guilt. Because you know, when you have initiative, in modern terms called self-starter on a job, is butu you getting from your co-workers and everybody, you know, what you playing, where you fronting, where you going, because you finish what you had to do quick, and asking, is there anything else? Who is you? And you're showing me up. Because I used to take a week to do what you just lick up and boom, 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 because of your focus. You understand? So when you continue to get that now, you become either lazy, when you can't lick them, join them, or you change jobs, or you just endure.
Yeah.
You endure.
Suppress.
Because you need the key. Good? So suppress, which is what Sigmund Freud say. Well, you know, he linked that to your sexuality and all of that. But we're dealing with Freud. So your first 4, and where you're dealing, the 4th one is dealing with role diffusion versus ego, yes, right, ego integrity. Ego integrity is the last one, but there's ego. You're trying now to mold who is this individual, but you're not molding it on your own. You're just molding it trial and error. Because role diffusion is when, like, you start to go to work, you now start your first job, or because you have passed through the school system already where you had to relate to colleagues and so. But then it start to get the ascent of the last 4 begin to get steeper and steeper, because it is based on the premise, the tools that you will need for those last 4 stages, you should have developed in the building blocks in those first 4.
Yeah.
So you would hear like a teenager who really fell in love, for he or she, for the first time at 16, 17, which is a critical age for all of us at maturation. When something went awry, or the parents don't like the person that you have, or it's a race issue or whatever, you could go into a tailspin and just never love again, you know. You could shut down from there.
Or orientation.
That's right. Or orientation, which is big in the dance now. And you just say, you see me? From today is like and prefer. They're telling me about love, and they get very sarcastic about what love is. They get bitter. Because I try that, brother. I walk in with my eyes wide shut and I get lick up. Or some go off on drugs. Some just trip clean off. Because that was the one. You follow? So when you now start going into the latter four, where you're now putting the lessons learned, the baptisms of fire you went through, all the different catastrophes, don't forget losses. You're losing friends sometimes to suicide, to drugs. They migrate.
What a life.
And you may never see them again. So when you coming down to those later stages now, and where you're dealing now with intimacy, you know is more relational now, intimacy versus isolation, because dependent on how you responded or not to the task before, you will become more and more in hibernation. And that's why they use isolated as the term, because you just
isolated
withdraw.
rather than intimate,
That's it. So therefore, when you become old and only sit in your veranda looking out,
criticizing everybody.
Thank you. Not waving and saying howdy and come and sit down with, no, just saying, look at that, look at her. Because it's the more faults you look for, the more you will find. So in rounding off this, when you now have to deal with intimacy and not truly loving from an unconditional space, which takes time, but you know, you know that it is part of the growing process, and you're willing to take the little, you know, and why he ain't talking, or she just want to be alone and whatever. You have all the little idiosyncrasies might, but you also have to know when to walk. When you know, the cost, emotional cost, it makes sense. We had to go our separate ways and whatever. But when you come down now to where we are, well, those who in like the 50s, going up the chain to 50 to like 70, that is when you are generativity versus stagnation. Stagnation is the conflict, but generativity is when you want to leave your legacy. You want to leave your footprints in the sand. You want to do things that are altruistic, philanthropy. You want to do volunteerism. So some go to the church, some go in the community. You heard the cohort with that. 50 to 70, that is going into retirement, honey. So this is not going in no waving gallery or you're waving out the past year. This is another chapter. This is life. Which is what you all have rightfully named the third age or the third chapter. Because there's a fourth one when you reach 85. Because you're going to even more quieter space, not place, space. But now from 45, you're asking serious existential questions on not just your longevity, but how am I going to get to this where I am, or get to implement the design of the template that I have in mind to be this version of me? And what are the steps? And you're not doing it like a project management, where you put yourself in a box. You have to be so fluid, because that's what love is. What you're really doing is falling in love with yourself. And some believe because they are now 70, because they are now 80, where now I going with my old self? I so damn tired. I fed every fete they had with Dutchies. I fed with every fete it had with Rudder. I went to every panorama from the time the anthem started. I was there. And they start to do the little checklist. And then they realize that this disengagement where they are now is not just a mixture of fear, but I tell you, laziness is part of it too, because it's an inertia. Like, I'm not as beautiful as I was. I'm not as agile as I was. What clothes are going to wear? I have is a different wardrobe, is a different this. And that's where the fear comes. How I would look among people younger than me, that in the party, or people, when I bounce up some of my classmates who I look like 20 years the senior. And all of us were in class. That is a real ricochet. And so when they take the position of, I don't, nah, that, girl, I fat enough.
And with the carnival season, that's the reason we ain't going nowhere.
Yes, it ain't necessarily that. They really want to come. They would really like to chip. But, God, girl, those who know me, back in the day, I was a party animal. And when now they see me with a walker or a cane and ask me, where you going, girl? Where you come, so? You know? And you're in orthopedic shoes and you're diabetic now, so you had to walk with insulin and all these different things. You seeing that as just a cage closing in on you. And rather than tell that to your sibling, your dependents or your grandchildren, you just say, nah, I had my day. Yeah. But inside, you're sad. Because many of us, we putting them to sleep. We putting the chakras to sleep when you're supposed to be resplendent and
waking them up.
You watch me. Eh? No,
Dr. Rouse
is a whole power. I want us to leave the viewers on that note. You see how all three of us now on a high? Because they would be saying, but look at these three women. Yes, it's we. This is us in our authentic self, fearless,
not afraid,
powerful, and free. Listen, you're just light. You're just light. The most we will have to ponder about is how I could make a long word smaller or how I could make a longer sentence a phrase. I am now doing, and this is all about keeping the brain, the heart, the chakras, as you say, comfortable. So we leaving on a high and a sweet place. I hope we didn't burden anybody to say, but look how they live it. All they should be saying, I want to be like that. That is what they should be saying. That's how I want to be. Full of vibe and verve and wanting to live.
Not afraid to ask and find out and
you.
Curious. Just
and curious.
Continue.
Stimulus.
Great. Yes, Jen.
And Dr. Rouse, as usual, I mean, we always love having you. We will continue to have you on board with us. And you really, for those who weren't curious before, you have shared so much information, insights that, listen to me, even if you didn't know you was curious, you would become curious because there's so much more for us to understand, you know, in what is happening with ageism, you know, what we have to do, what we should look for, and how we should start going back to how we reach, where we are today, you know, on this life stage we're on. So we look forward to our continuous relationship with you.
Most certainly.
To share the happiness with others, our cohort. To show them how to be happy and live life and
they
go
have
out
to
there.
all, and they have to all know, Jen, that what is in us, we are not discovering, we are uncovering. It is there already. It is there in all of us. Our essence is joy, not happiness, not pleasure, joy. That even in a dark place, that little light, just keep it glowing, just keep it burning, but just know it just get a little dim. But joy. You understand? And
that
just flow.
Jennifer got some wisdom from a 9-year-old about our cohort and what we do with joy. And we can Jennifer, what did the 9-year-old say?
We stuff joy out of our lives.
That's what we like to do.
See? And they look at you and say, y'all are so boring, you know?
and you also want to stuff joy out of their lives.
Thank you. You know? Thank you. It is. Thank you both. Thanks to my viewers, our viewers, and have a wonderful day ahead of you. All the days ahead of you are opportunities to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
To continue to grow.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
But Jennifer, if we didn't understand where our lack of curiosity came from, and what is driving all this fear, we certainly have a framework to do so now.
Yeah. So we have nothing else to add. What we have to do is from next week, from on our next show.
From today.
From today, yeah. We pull in from what Dr. Rouse has said and we continue on.
No, definitely. I hope you understand why you now have to stay tuned. And every week, we're going to help all of us be much more curious. So we live more and learn more and much less afraid. So by Carnival, everybody, if you're in a sailor mask, you're in a dragon mask, you're a baby doll, whatever you want to be, or stand up on the side of the road, enjoy yourself. So yeah. We will see you next week. Take care. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.
Bye for now.
50 Plus Tribe and followers from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.